All right, Republican Congressman Mo Brooks said the spending bill was the worst piece of legislation he'd ever voted on. Now Speaker Ryan is responding. This is what he told our own Maria Bartiromo.
I kind of disagree with Mo on that. This was a discretionary budget about getting the military their budget. As you know, the military has been deteriorating, hollowed out. So we are really focused on getting the military their budget because they need a budget that they can plan for.
Here now, Congressman Mo Brooks from Alabama. He is a member of the House Freedom Caucus. Did that clear it all up for you? I mean, what the speaker said, you feel all better now or not so much?
It's always fun to spend money.
Yeah.
It's much more difficult to pay the bills. And this budget bill that we passed last week, quite frankly, is smoke and mirrors. It's borrowing money we don't have, can't afford to pay back. That's not the way to operate a household. It's not the way to operate a business. It's not the way to operate a country. And America is going to pay a very steep, very heavy price if we continue on this financially irresponsible way of spending money.
Hey, no doubt you're preaching to the choir here because we can actually do math, and it is spiraling out of control. The problem is that, a lot of Congress people talk a good game, but in terms of really tackling the problem, and that's entitlements, how do you do that? I mean, we had Glenn Hubbard on, and he said the first step is you got to make a rule about you're only going to expand spending maybe by inflation or something like that, and then you've got to start down the road of adhering to the rule. What do you think is a way to actually get us rolling in the right direction?
There are only two ways to address the entitlement program's costs. One way is for Mitch McConnell and the Republican senators to get rid of this 60-vote rule that is not required in the Constitution, may not even be permitted by the Constitution. I think in a republic, in a democracy, majority rules and wins. But that's not the case in the United States Senate. So you're not going to get any entitlement reform in the United States Senate until such time as you get to majority rule, because no Democrat can vote for cutting entitlement programs and expect to win their Democrat primaries. They can win a general election, but not their primaries. So we're in a very, very difficult position when you talk about these entitlement programs long term. The other option is for the American people to start sending a better batch of congressmen and senators and presidents, looking back over the last 20 or 30 years, who will address entitlement reform. But unfortunately, the American people have not seen fit to send to Washington, D.C. people who are financially responsible.
Well, let me pick that apart for a little bit, because if you blow away the 60-vote rule, then the next time spenders are back in power, they'll just wipe out any savings you've made and send you in the opposite direction.
Well, there is some truth to that. And if you look at this situation short term, there's a lot of truth to that. But if you look at it long term, over the last 90 years, the Republicans have never had 60 votes in the United States Senate to reverse the damage done when the Democrats, over 20 different years of time, have had 60 votes. You look at the Franklin Delano Roosevelt programs in the 1930s. You look at the Great Society programs in the 1960s. You look at Obamacare in 2009 and 2010. Democrats had 60 votes. We can never reverse any of those big spending programs because we're never in a position to have those 60 votes. So long term, it's a failure.
Forgive me if I don't trust Republicans to turn back the tide on spending, because so many of them, too, want to get reelected as well. And anytime you take away something from people that they already had, they tend to hate you for it, no matter what political party they belong to. So, who really has the steel in their stomach to be unpopular and take stuff away?
Well, you have to be eloquent enough and understand economics enough to be able to explain to the people that you represent that this is in their best interest to be financially responsible. Because long term, there's only one end game, and that end game is an insolvency and bankruptcy of the United States of America. If that happens, there may be no money for entitlement programs, no money for national defense. Pick your poison. So what you have to do is help the people understand that you cannot continue to live off of borrowed money. Try to analogize it to their households. If they 25% of their operational costs is borrowed money, eventually they're going bankrupt. Same thing with you at Fox Business News. If you continue to operate that way, you're going bankrupt and you're going to lose your job. Same thing with the United States of America.
And everything else. No, we know that, and I feel like everybody's explained that a bunch of times. But Americans are so worried about running out of money at home, they hate to also manage you guys. But we'll see. Congressman Brooks, thanks for coming on. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.